Some moments in history are so strange, so shocking, and so unbelievable that they sound made up. But every story you're about to see is real. Here are 12 incredible events that prove history is stranger than fiction. Hidden beneath the Gulf of Mexico is an ancient forest that survived for thousands of years underwater. About 60 feet below the waters off Alabama, scientists discovered a remarkably preserved cypress forest buried beneath layers of ocean sediment. The trees were protected from decay after being covered by mud and sand, preserving their ancient wood for tens of thousands of years. When storms exposed parts of the site, researchers found a rare glimpse into a forgotten prehistoric landscape beneath the sea. What other secrets do you think are hidden beneath the ocean? Near the end of World War II, American soldiers and German troops fought together against the Nazis. In May 1945, at Castle Itter in Austria, an unlikely alliance was formed. American soldiers joined forces with German Wehrmacht troops who had turned against the Nazi regime. The castle was holding important French prisoners, including former prime ministers and military leaders. When Waffen-SS forces attacked, this small group defended the castle together until Allied reinforcements arrived. The Battle of Castle Itter became one of the most unusual alliances of World War II. Could you imagine fighting alongside your former enemy to defeat a greater threat? The most powerful explosion ever created by humans shook the entire planet. In 1961, the Soviet Union detonated Tsar Bomba, the largest nuclear weapon ever built. With a yield of about 50 megatons, it was more than 3,000 times more powerful than the Hiroshima bomb. The fireball grew so large that it nearly reached the ground, while the mushroom cloud rose to around 60 kilometers into the sky. The shockwave circled the Earth multiple times. To reduce radioactive fallout, Soviet scientists had already cut the bomb's original planned yield in half. Can you imagine seeing an explosion this massive with your own eyes? The ship sank. But the real nightmare began after the survivors reached land. In 1629, the Dutch ship Batavia was sailing toward Indonesia when it struck a reef near the coast of Australia. Hundreds of survivors reached nearby islands, expecting rescue, but a group of mutineers seized control and turned the disaster into a brutal struggle for power. As rescuers searched for the missing passengers, they uncovered a shocking story of betrayal, violence, and survival. The Batavia shipwreck became one of the darkest chapters of the Dutch Golden Age. How do you think people would react if they were stranded with no rescue in sight? A ship collision created one of the largest explosions in history before nuclear weapons existed. On December 6, 1917, the Canadian city of Halifax witnessed one of the largest human-made explosions. Before the nuclear age, two ships collided in the harbor. One of them, the SS Mont Blanc, was carrying a massive cargo of wartime explosives. Minutes later, the ship exploded with incredible force, destroying much of the surrounding area, killing nearly 2,000 people and injuring thousands more. After the disaster, communities around the world sent help. A major relief effort from Boston created a friendship between the two cities that continues today. Could you imagine surviving an explosion that changed an entire city forever? A wounded pigeon succeeded where entire armies had failed. During World War I, an American battalion became trapped behind enemy lines and was even shelled by its own artillery. Their last hope was a carrier pigeon named Cher Ami, despite being shot through the chest and losing a leg. The pigeon completed its mission. The message helped stop the friendly fire and led rescuers to the trapped battalion, saving around 194 surviving soldiers. Cher Ami later received France's Croix de Guerre, becoming one of history's most famous war animals. Do you think one small act of courage can change history?
For nearly 10 years, this dog returned to the same place, waiting for someone who would never come back. In the 1920s, an Akita dog named Hachiko lived in Japan with his owner, Professor Hidesaburo Ueno. Every day, Hachiko accompanied his owner to Shibuya Station and waited for him to return from work. One day, the professor passed away and never came back. But Hachiko continued returning to the station every day, hoping to see him again. For nearly 10 years, his loyalty touched an entire nation. Hachiko became one of the most famous symbols of animal devotion in history.
In 1835, thousands believed scientists had discovered life on the moon, but it was all fake. In 1835, newspapers stunned the public with an extraordinary claim. Astronomers had discovered life on the moon. The reports described forests, strange animals, and even human-like creatures with bat wings. The stories spread quickly, and many readers believed they were true. But there was one problem. It was all a hoax. Published by the New York Sun, the story was designed to attract readers and became one of history's most famous fake news stories. Do you think you would have believed the story if you had read it in 1835? A country once had a giant wall made of plants, built to collect taxes. In the 1800s, the British Empire created one of history's strangest barriers, the Great Hedge of India. Thousands of workers planted and maintained a massive line of thorny bushes, trees, and barriers stretching hundreds of miles across India. But this was not built to stop an invading army. Its purpose was to enforce the British salt tax. Salt was essential for everyday life, and anyone caught transporting untaxed salt could face punishment. Over time, this living barrier became one of the longest man-made boundaries in the world. Can you imagine a government building a giant hedge just to collect taxes? One intercepted telegram helped change the course of World War I. In 1917, Britain intercepted a secret German message known as the Zimmermann telegram. Germany proposed that if Mexico joined the war against the United States, it would support Mexico in recovering Texas, New Mexico, and Arizona. British codebreakers decrypted the message and secretly passed it to the United States. When it became public, it outraged many Americans and helped push the United States toward entering World War I. Do you think one secret message can really change the course of history? Let me know what you think. A heavily outnumbered army defeated one of Europe's strongest forces using a simple weapon. In 1415, during the 100 Years' War, England faced a much larger French army near the village of Agincourt, France. The English soldiers were exhausted, outnumbered, and surrounded by difficult, muddy terrain. But they had a powerful advantage: the longbow. Thousands of English archers launched waves of arrows that disrupted the heavily armored French. Knights, as they struggled across the battlefield, the French suffered a devastating defeat, while England achieved one of its most famous victories. Can a smaller army really defeat a stronger enemy with better strategy?
The Eiffel Tower didn't just attract tourists. It helped France fight World War I. Most people think the Eiffel Tower was built only for the 1889 World's Fair. But during World War I, its powerful radio transmitter became a valuable military asset. French forces used it to intercept German wireless messages, track enemy communications, and support intelligence operations. Historians believe the tower's radio station played an important role in France's wartime communications and intelligence efforts. Did you know one of the world's most famous landmarks once helped fight a war?